Hi, welcome to my craft room. Well, yesterday was a blissful Sunday. It was cold and it was raining and it was blowing a gale. The perfect day to stay inside and play with my new toys. Earlier this week, I had some gilding wax and some Pixie powder delivered, and I couldn't wait to get started, inspired by some cards that Christine Stokes has been making lately. This top one is pretty much inspired by her style, and it's my favorite of mine in a long while. I used a pixie powder to create the green background, and then I used gilding polish to surround it, and then I used both pixie powder on black cardstock and some more gilding polish on the little bowl and jug. I put it on a black background, and then just plain white was too stark. I don't know if you can see, but I put it through a subtle embossing folder just to give it a tiny bit more interest. And I quite like this one. I hope the recipient does too. I suspect he's seen this now. Sorry for the lack of surprise. Next up, I made another background out of the pixie powder. And then I cut out a Spellbinder's, I'm not sure what to call this. It was a die that sort of, not quite a background, but not quite an element either. I'm not sure what to call it, but it's very pretty. I cut it out in white, but that just didn't work very well, so I made it gold. And then I made another of these butterflies, again using pixie powder on the first layer. Can you see that? Yeah, maybe not. But then I used gilding polish on the top, and all in all, I think it's quite pretty. My sister-in-law and I usually do our crafting together on Thursdays, but this week my husband and I were coming down with a cold, and she was preparing for surgery next week, well, actually this week now. So we didn't want to spread that to her, so we skipped last week. And then we're going to have to skip this week because she's having surgery. So I made her a get well card. And then there's my 20-year-old son, turned 20 a couple of days ago actually, but it took me forever to figure out how to do this card. He's a chess fiend, and so my cards for him are always chess oriented. But after a while, I started to feel uninspired. So I picked up the Keitzel Craft chess set, and I thought it was kind of interesting, much different from most of the other things I've found. And finally, this one actually started as, well, I put it together out of scraps from my scrap bag, and it was all right. It was kind of boring. So while I was playing with the pixie powder, I decided to dip some leaves into it and see what happened. And it was quite pretty. And then I put some gilding polish over the top, added them to this card, and suddenly it went from to actually pretty decent. I have the greeting is from the Paper Rose cutout greetings pages. Yeah, and they're pretty high quality. Not all of them are things I want to say, but they're pretty high quality. Oh, and I think the leaves are Spellbinders, but they're very old. I've had them forever, and I'm not actually sure. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. I will talk to you next week.